Welcome one, welcome all, together into the center of the cipher session, hidden on the top of the tabernacle under the earth. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and all who gather from all corners of the four winds to the ultimate holy of holies, as well as the lowly of lowlies. For as it is above, so it is below, where there is darkness. Forth comes the light in the Ceremonia. Welcome back, everybody. It's episode number 5. Keep the power alive. How you doing, Velvet Fire? Luna777, how you doing?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm so excited because today is about ghosts, spirit, demons, goblins, ancestors. So I think we're all ready. How about you guys? How are you doing, Psycho Lord? How do you feel about this
We
today?
missed you guys. Pretty excited. As far as my projects as Renaissance Ninja, I've got a new phone with a new camera, so I'm starting to do shorts with better visuals. We got some good things going on. Just talking shop here for the people. We're improving our situation. We're using a mixer now to kind of see how we can control levels more and increase. Slowly. We already are using good mics, good wireless mics, and so we're improving housekeeping issues so that we could bring a better spiritual product for you in the path of knowledge, ladies and gentlemen.
That is definitely true. By the way, let me just quick check. We are going to, speaking of ghosts and the world that we don't get to see, which is the spiritual world. I am going to really check. I think we're moving to the Aries season. For many of those that are interested in your sign and horoscopes, we are moving from uh, we're going to Aries season, right? From Pisces to Aries season. And it's going to be feeling a lot more different. It's going to be feeling like more pumped, more energetic, want to be going out, doing plans, just keep going. And it's just wanting that is eagerness. There's tendency this time also when it comes to a little bit more mindful into decisions making, because it might be a little bit like too precipitated or maybe too rushed. So that's why it's very important to keep this in mind. And it's gonna be. I'm pretty sure that, well, Pisces season that just passed, it's much artistic. It's very thoughtful about thinking, about spirituality, right? And all these things. But Aries season is also about the spring, the colors. It's wanting to it's creative action as well, but it's also about very, very mindful of what decisions you're going to make, thoughts, words you're going to be saying. And we might be seeing a tendency of a little bit more than usual. We are already there, violent or violence in the streets around your co-workers, work environment, or family. So expect that, because it's a fiery energy element. So let me start with that. But yeah, go ahead.
What is the dawning of the age of Aquarius?
That is an interesting question to answer, right?
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It's a whole song. Famous epic song. So, I know that Pisces is somehow connected to Christianity and Jesus. That's why the Christians put the symbol of a fish in the back of their car. Jordan Maxwell talks about this. If you go on Gaia, people mention this, and it is true. There is a connection, and there's an astrological aspect to parts of the Bible, and certainly Jesus and the Pisces fish. There's a connection there, and then the ending of that age. I don't know what it's supposed to be, 2012 or now or coming up or what, but then the next one is the age of Aquarius, and all these different eras have different meanings. I do believe it was either the Mayans or the Aztecs, or both, that was saying that life's going to change forever and never be the same again. The world's going to change forever, and that year is 2012. And for a long time, we misinterpreted it as going to be the end of the world, period. But then it was more correctly interpreted to be it's never going to be the same again. The world will change forever. It's an end of an era, 2012. Now that's I guess that's true, and I guess that's right. But before 2012, we thought, if you go by that interpretation of and forgive me, whether it's the Mayan or Aztec calendar, saying about the 2012, but only after 2012 came and we saw that we were still here and the lava didn't come down from the sky already. It was like, oh no, it means the world's gonna change. So it's always like that. There's been prophets and people saying the world's gonna end in 1999, 2000, 2012. So that's just kind of something that we do. We tell prophecies, and some of them are false prophecies. And but this is as far as the discussion of the age of Aquarius. Um, it's interesting. Ancient religions studied astrology. It's influenced our modern religions. There's cross meanings, and there's just a lot. There's ancient Egyptian gods that have the same stories as Jesus, and there's so many parallels between them, between Horus and Jesus, and Amun Ra and all that stuff. If you take some mushrooms and listen to the Ring of Power, there's a rabbit hole for you. All whatever 28 parts of it, it gets into that, and that's just if you want to trip yourself out and get into some different subjects. Because I'm not saying that thing is correct, and actually there's some problematic messages in there. But I mean, you could listen to Alex Jones. He predicted like tons of stuff, including 9/11, but then he had the Sandy Hook issue. So no source is going to be 100%, even if, let's say you go into the Bible. It's how do you interpret it, right? And then there's a historical aspect. But when it comes to science and history, I mean, those people are arguing all the time too. And, depending politically on how you see the world, you could see the MAGA movement and the John F. Kennedy Jr. thing, and his trying to hold vaccine manufacturers accountable and this, that, and the third. You could see that as the fringe elements of society taking over, or you could see it as the balance and the people's voice being heard. And finally, we're going to push back against eugenicists and stop our depopulation slow poisoning. It depends how you want to look at it, right? So
it all depends. Yeah. So listen, according to the Old Farmer's Almanac in the internet, the Great Age, that this is where we are, or the Aquarius times, it is saying that it's about a lot of coming or trying to go towards harmony. And I could see that where is this going, because 2025 it's actually ending up in 2, 5, it's 7, and then 9, and 9 in spirituality, it actually means almost close to the finish line, right? Almost close to a chapter, which is number 10, but we're still on 9. It would be associated with selflessness, universal love, but more of actually trying to know each other within, and the divine completeness of each person individually, that they have their own journey. So it all depends. I guess it's each to their own, has their own journey and their own homework to do in times of releasing or understanding the different roads that we must take, but we must separate from ourselves as well, or even I would say spiritual awareness or awakenings. So we're coming into that a lot more clear and focus, and it's looking, maybe, I don't know, maybe it could be something good, or maybe it could be a time of getting prepared for a massive rebellious wave coming in, because when you wake up, right, it's like waking up from the Matrix. So it all depends.
isn't it weird how, like, the Pisces, or every sign of the zodiac has these personality traits, these characteristics, and usually with Pisces, part of it is always like you're nice, you're a nice person, you have all the spiritual insight, spiritual, nice, 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 and then other stuff like, oh, addictive personality or what have you. But like, that's an aspect of Jesus. He's Mr. Nice Guy, nice, 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 and he's obviously in tune with humanity, to the ultimate degree, because the idea is he's God's son, but at the same time one with God and the Holy Spirit, Trinity, if you go with that doctrine. But anyway, he's God. I get it. He's God's son. He is also God. Relax, but just suspend belief for a second and just go with it. Jesus gave his life for sinners, which is the lowly humans. And, even if you're not religious, you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe in Jesus, you can't deny that humans are carnal and that we can be wonderful, but we could also be probably the worst animal on earth because we have understanding. So we know that if you rip someone through, if you pull someone's intestines through their freaking belly button, it hurts. Like, it's not like and even animals know about pain and can perceive these things, but their level of their level of perception is not as high as ours, you could say, or at least that's what we think, or for the most part, and just understanding. So, like, we get pain. That's why they argue, like people that are, when you have the discussion about eating meat or not, the higher the consciousness, the worse it is to kill the animal. So that's why it's much worse to kill an ape or a dog, or even a cat. There's a hierarchy as opposed to a chicken, which is worse than killing what? I guess a worm, right? The higher the consciousness, the worse it is. So Jesus gave himself for us. Did I get lost there? Save me. Come save me.
Yeah, so let
Luna
me end up
777.
let me end up with the Aquarius
Retrograde.
season with the negatives with the negative aspect. It will be, again, we are seeing this, and it's not just because
Please.
astrologers or horoscope.com is saying it, but the negative side or aspect of the Aquarius energy is very detached, zero emotions, very blunt or even harsh.
Really?
We can even come into seeing rulers or people who wants to just cut everything through with no mercy, no thinking through things, nothing. So that could be another dark aspect we can be seeing on this Aquarius times, and year of the number 9. I would say that in order to do that, since we probably as a collective, we've been seeing this a lot, right? How be the human exploitation, women also, and children. So we are going to create this consciousness as growing and trying to stop a lot of that. And again, it could be very positive or it could be very negative. It all depends.
But it's interesting because you said that Aquarius is detached, and that's the opposite of Pisces. So is this an era where we're gonna be less like Jesus and more like freaking Stalin or something?
I would like to say that I was trying to bring up the negative aspect of the Aquarius. Every sign has a positive and negative. These are some of the negative aspects of an Aquarius. And since we are in an Aquarius time, right? So we could see that, and we're seeing a lot of that. So again, the negative aspect of the Pisces can be dramatic or feeling as if everything it's being done on purpose, and victimizing and feeling like it's melancholy and falling into depression. So there's a lot there, and there's a lot of positive aspect as well. But then Aquarius is a very strong element, a very strong sign, and when it is positive, it is already strong. We're talking about lawyers, judges, we're talking about court, and even presidents, rulers. When it is in a balance aspect, it's good. They're trying to seek for the truth, talk about things, right? Expose people. But when it is inverted, or the energy is the dark side is coming out, we are looking at this very negative aspects that we are already again seeing it through a lot of everyday incidents. Every day, a lot of people are getting attacked, or they are in a hostile situation, or they need a new home because they have to run away from their own land. So we're seeing all of this negative sides from the Aquarius time that we're living.
Aquarius. Well, it's the dawning of the age, ladies and gentlemen. The Beatles said it, and there's no denying. So, what do you think this age of Aquarius is going to bring? And I always tie it into politically because it's kind of like a aspect of this era and kind of what ties everybody together, especially the nature and proliferation of media. Proliferation of media. And 24-hour news cycle, everybody's got phones in their face. Part of that is TikTok and Reels and people dancing and punching each other and eating a bathtub full of ketchup or whatever. Like, it's all news. That's news now.
You know how we can tie this topic with a very simple news update that we've been talking under our latest previous episodes. The Blake Lively updates on the Justin Baldoni's defamation lawsuit. You know how we can tie it up? I'm going to tell you right now, very quick. Now it comes to the latest that Ryan Reynolds has been, right? He's being sued by Justin Baldoni for defamation. With, we all know that his wife, Blake Lively, right, is going on since December. She already started the lawsuit with Baldoni because there is a lot of back and forth going on. He has some proof, and now he is counterattacking the married couple. You see how we see the Aquarius element here, or the energy. He now Ryan Reynolds is asking to be dropped from Baldoni's lawsuit.
Whoa.
How are we seeing this? First of all, although in his actions, he's calling to say, although I'm married to her, it affects her. I might love her and care for her because she's my wife, and I think they have 4 children. It doesn't have to affect me, and I don't want to be part of it. That is part of the Aquarius energy. It's about independence, very, very into thoughtful logic and methodical, very neutral and trying to do not just the righteous thing, but whatever it needs to be done. So we can see a lot of things handling in a very much of the Aquarius energy in this time. What are your thoughts?
Well, to me, I mean, I don't know. I get confused by those issues. I just always am stuck on who the heck is this lady. We live in some type of simulation matrix. She's a clone of Johnny Depp's girlfriend. We've never heard of her until this guy and this lawsuit and these accusations, and it's just all weird. Hollywood's so weird.
I was thinking about this before we started the session. I don't know. Is it that they had issues? Is it that Ryan Reynolds found something with something weird happening with his wife, and she had to disclose the information, and that's why they probably were talking about separation, and then she just offered him to say, "Hey, listen, Ryan, I'm just gonna start a lawsuit," and then probably he put an ultimatum or something because not out of nowhere, this Baldoni guy is coming out with like texts, screenshots of texts, and proof that that he is claiming his innocence. I'm not saying, and I'm not defending each or anyone. Baldoni has some sort of a reputation there. I don't know if
Nothing
he
like
doesn't.
having receipts.
Yeah, but if you have the receipts, and then could it be that the couple, because of some scenes that are there already, Blake Lively and him and Baldoni going on, hardcore, could it be that Ryan Reynolds then said, "Hey, listen, so what's going on?" And who knows? I don't know. Semi prediction, could it be a rumors of separation coming up? I don't know, but there is a high chance. I want to say.
Well, whatever happens, if there's another Deadpool, we're gonna hear all about it in the Deadpool movie from Deadpool. That's what I like about that.
I can just imagine how are they going to frame that, because it is going to be very, very interesting. Yeah, very creative.
Y'all.
So this is what's happening now. Now we are also going to move on to our next topic, which is going to be very, very quick. The fact that we believe angels and saints, now that we are moving on a little bit from Lent, but we are still keeping, right? Many of us are trying to work with the time of Passover and all of this, religious or spiritual, I don't know, how can you call it? Spiritual practices that many people take. How are we feeling about spirit and angels, Psycho Lord?
Well, I think that those stories exist for a reason. So we definitely, as a human race, have come in contact with something or someone, or experienced something that emanates from within ourselves, like visions and dreams, messages, genetic memories, um, blocked off messages, information. There's got to be a reason that multiple cultures have angels and demons and spirits and extraterrestrial visitors. And basically every ancient civilization from South America to Egypt is talking about the same multidimensional aliens, and they're leaving the same totem poles and pyramids and drawings all over the place with astronauts. So that's interesting. And I just think, the Bible has angels as God's messengers. That's what angel means. So it's some kind of communication. Maybe it's us from the future is a new thing now. That's the trendy one. And right now in this time, we're having a lot of disclosure from the government. It started with the Disclosure Project, things leaking and things, but here's the thing is when people hear UFO, they think of a flying saucer with a green man in it, but it's just a flying aircraft we can't identify, or something out there flying around we can't identify. Now, what's been coming out is that the Air Force and people in the military, those recordings and interviews and things are coming out where they're explaining phenomena in outer space and in the Earth's atmosphere from airplane cockpits. They can't explain what they're seeing. They can't explain how an object can move like that, at that speed, at that angle, turn a 90-degree corner, and like Star Trek warp speed, do things that we've never seen before. And it's happening, and it's being seen by our military pilots, and it's coming out. So that's crazy. And if we were less advanced as a society, we'd be saying, well, that's God, that's the devil, that's an angel, those are demons, that's the apocalypse, that's this prophecy, is that prophecy, it's the God of whatever the pagans were talking about. So it's like this is how we communicate as humans, through symbols. Statues are symbols of saints, saints are symbols of our ancestors, of people that we should look up to, of whoever the Vatican decides is going to be a saint now. So I mean, and see, even the you can make fun of that, but the whole point of the Catholic saints, it's like they all correspond to something, right? So there's the saint of the poor, there's the saint of the going for difficult things, right? There's like a saint for everything. Lazarus, the healer, and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, we just had, for example, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Many of them, many of its followers are there supporting St. Patrick's. Others are throwing all this negativity and all of this hostility online, saying that he was I don't know, cutting people's throats and I don't know what else, and that he did. I don't know how much of a harm back then, and in what country, in what era, I don't remember, I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's another side to that.
A delightful
There's
fellow.
many versions of those saints, if you notice. Many St. Patrick's. San Patricio, Saint Patrick from the Irish people. Then from Rome. There's another one. There's from Spanish people. There's so many versions of this one name that they the higher.
And it comes with all these traditions that come from traditions that came before it, which should be interesting to look into the origin of the four-leaf clover and that being good luck.
Yeah.
Leprechauns, the pot of gold, at the end of the rainbow. There's messages there. And what those messages are, it starts to get lost, but images are so powerful, you can kind of get it back. I mean, if you look at the cross, and if you look at through the lens of like Kabbalah and Hermeticism and all this stuff, you're gonna go with the angles and the shapes it's made out of. It's the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, but also it's one thing, so that makes it one. But one plus the three of the fact that it's a Trinity makes it four. Four has meaning to it, and it just goes on and on. It's also in the shape of a human being crucified, and crucifixions is something the Romans did a lot. Jesus wasn't the only person to get crucified, and some of his disciples got crucified. Peter famously upside down. There's a significance to the symbology of the crucifixion, and there being three crucifixions on top of the hill, and two of them are thieves, which also represents just the whole point of Jesus dying on the cross for us. He's right there with us. There's the part about God the Father turning his back on the Son because he had all of our sin on him. And then people start having like a seizure about the fact that the Father, Son, Holy Spirit is one person and all this stuff. The images are the mechanism we use to pass these stories down, and it's really useful, especially if, like the Jews back in the days, you would pass it down just verbally, just with words, which is an amazing thing. Native Americans, I think, also do that. So you need images just to remember. You have something to give your kids and your grandkids, your great grandkids. You may not remember all the parts of the lesson that was given by your ancestors, but you still have the image which continues to recall parts of that message. And we can add to that message in any given generation, and that same image can translate another piece of the message. Perhaps there's an image that in one era is passing down one message, and in another era is passing down another message, and in another era a message is passed down that ties all those messages together more cohesively. Does that make any sense?
What I want to emphasize
Screw
or
Blake
focus a
Lively.
little
I'm
bit.
just kidding.
You said that the image or the image and a message has been passed down to another generation. You know how I see it? I see it more as of every couple of I don't know, centuries or years, 100 years, whatever, that group of people, civilization, already understood the message, and the next one, their descendants are already becoming more advanced, so they're understanding another concept of the same image, and then they keep growing, and the next following, it's understanding another so it's an ongoing growth of internal. I don't know. It will be information seeking. Humans always want to seek, always want to understand, always want to know what's there to that we can't see. On another note, on the UFOs and all that stuff that we're talking about, the Pentagon, for example, and this is according to the independent news or article that they have here. The Pentagon review covered 757 cases from around the world that were reported to U.S. authorities from May 2023 to June 2024. The total includes 272 incidents that occurred before the time period but have not been previously reported. Now, this is interesting because I have seen a lot of those. It's not the first time, but there is an ongoing special reporter who does a lot of this UFOs. That he's a Mexican, well-known individual. I would say I don't have his name right now. I could look it up in a bit, but he is very popular for doing these ongoing investigations on UFOs, and they are always, interestingly enough, they are always around either mountains, or if you notice in Mexico there's a lot of pyramids, right? I've also I think I read once that there's also some sighting going on what, Egypt, by the pyramids. So that is something interesting as to why the pyramids. Is it because there is a connection that has to do with the shape, which is maybe making a connection to a position out there in the universe, which attracts some source of energy down to the to the earth. It all depends why. And again, humans always want to know that that is what it's not seen to the eye, right? So
Yeah. I mean, the Great Pyramid is like lined up with the sun somehow, and with constellations, the three pyramids are lined up a certain way to some position of the earth or tilting of this, that, and all that stuff. So it's like, and the Sphinx has the face on the Sphinx has changed. They've changed the nose. Another king came in, and they do stuff. So the images get changed, the messages get passed down, but it's not like everybody's this holy, wise priest. I mean, it gets corrupted, and the selfish messages get passed down, and all of the darkness and the light that we as humans carry with us gets passed down, just like our genetics and all our mistakes and bad habits and alcoholism and all that stuff gets passed down with our mission and struggle to reach our higher realm of ourselves and like reach up to God. That gets passed down, and like how to get chicks, and like we pass down what we pass down. If we look at the Bible, there's wars in the Bible. There's all this stuff in the Bible that you could use to kind of speak up against religion. But then there's like the path to salvation. So it's the human story, and that's why I think it's important to preserve it and to soberly kind of take a look at it and to allow debate, and just to take everything with a grain of salt, but at the same time respect it, meaning religions and movements and philosophies and all of the images that come along with it.
so I just want to bring up the name of the journalist. So the journalist's name is Jaime Maussan. Again, he's been doing an ongoing UFO kind of investigations for a long time, and there were some claims there. For example, in 2023, Mexico became a global focal point for UFO discussions after. Jaime Maussan presented what he claimed were non-human bodies to the Mexican Congress, sparking both scientific scrutiny and public debate. So there is that there. We also know about, is it Area 51, right?
Area 51 is where
Yes.
it's closed off, and supposedly a spaceship landed there, and they have a human, alien dead body.
There's a lot going on with that. Why is it so protected? What's really happening? And then we go to the Stranger Things, which is very very similar. It's probably just a well written story, right? It's nothing related to reality, but there are some records shown that people are claiming that Stranger Things is related to a popular case, that it was from the CIA, or I don't know if it's from the government. Don't quote me on this. I will search it up very quick, but it's very similar because in Stranger Things, as I am checking this out, actually has to do with a lot of strange creatures. Like you remember watching this, right, Cycle, or a lot of
Oh yeah.
strange creatures from underground and a lot of labs and all of this thing going on, and the kids were trained, but then this thing had like a source of energy that was just there feeding off of something. I don't know. It's like so weird.
Well, the CIA has conducted experiments where they go into rooms and they do weird stuff with meditation, with concentration, with those tanks where you go in and float in water. The water is the same temperature as your skin, so it feels like you're floating. They fill it with salt so you don't drown, you float, and you black out in there. Isolation tanks, whatever, like the Joe Rogan thing, he does it. And they've done weird experiments where two guys next to each other were in the stimulus deprivation tank, whatever, isolation tanks, and they were separate from each other in separate tanks, but one of them was having a bad trip in there. They were doing psychedelics to connect with some spiritual dimension or something, and he heard that he was in there having like a nightmare, daymare, freaking, what do you call it when you're having a night terror in there? He's having a bad trip in there, so he took the shrooms or whatever it was and jumped in his isolation tank, appeared in the other guy's dream, and saved him. That's a story
Isn't
about
this like a
some
whole
of
thing?
these ayahuasca guys.
I know.
No, but the CIA has conducted experiments where they've taken psychedelics and synthetic drugs like acid, and they meditation and they all this stuff. And I think astronauts were involved. They've got weird communities in the CIA and in government circles. And Nancy Reagan famously had like a seance in the White House. She's talking to dead relatives. I mean, these people, a bunch of,
You told me that's interesting,
you
right?
know,
Like,
folks
that's
that are into some
fascinating.
stuff.
I
Yeah.
mean, everyone has their own belief and point of view, and why not? Like, right? But to those that are fans of the Stranger Things, by the way, guys, it's coming up. This confirmation was made on November the 6th, 2024, for the fifth
I
season.
can't wait to see it. I love
I
Stranger
know, I'm
Things.
so excited.
The Go ahead.
But then it's also like it's said here on a post. Netflix released a teaser video unveiling the title of the upcoming season on episode 8, and they also say that what is the name of the of I always forget his name. Eddie. Eddie. So I was like, oh, what happened to Eddie? Remember Eddie and his famous guitar on the roof?
It's a
So
character
it,
archetype of Van
yeah,
Halen, Eddie
I
Van Halen.
know they were mentioning him in several posts. Some people were debating, no, he's not coming. He's already dead. But others were,
He's definitely a
fans.
favorite, and he'll be back as a demon or something.
Yeah, there's always those fans that know more than everyone else, and they're gonna put you on. And they said, yeah, he's coming back. I assume he's not gonna come as alive, but probably like that energy, that mystic energy, trying to guide his friends. Probably, I assume. I hope he doesn't become that horrible animal that comes out of out of those caves that they have in there. That slimy thing coming out. Like, I
Well,
don't
the
know.
interesting thing was the main bad guy. If you remember him, he was the guy caught up in the weird eugenics camp that 11 was part of, and he was like a teacher, a supervisor, a monitor, or something. But he became this wizard demon from another dimension or whatever, warlock, looking like evil version of Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. And the interesting thing about it is the upside down place where he resides, which is another dimension, which the kids in Stranger Things learn to get over there. I forgot how it starts raining. Then they go to the other realm, to the freaking upside down.
I think
They found
they
like a
open like a
hole.
portal, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like it
something
was
like that.
infecting coming through Earth. But Alex Jones has talked about this, and other people that get real riled up about multidimensional influences into our world, which are usually nefarious, and they want you to sacrifice a bunch of kids so they can take all the power that comes from that spiritual energy. And other people call these demons. I mean, you could say we're crazy for talking about this stuff, but it's not like people don't worship the devil and sacrifice to the devil. They've done it, and plenty of societies have sacrificed to not just the devil, but to gods, and sacrifices happen, animal and human, and harvest of your crops, your freaking hay, you burn it, you kill a cow. People sacrifice things, and people sacrifice living creatures to the devil. We, yeah.
Yeah, so on another note, it also says, for example, on the Rolling Stones, they have a section where they talk about that the MK Ultra and all that stuff of the CIA in the 1950s and 70s, and how countless of subjects at over 80 institutions were actually being tested, right? Even it goes from schools, private hospitals, jails. So we see this going on, and they are also talking in the same article about, they wrote about the X Files. Remember the X Files also?
I used to love that.
The Twin Peaks, I have never.
Twin Peaks is awesome. Another
I've never seen it. I've never watched it
Okay, we
before.
gotta watch
Or
it.
not, I've never heard of this. So this is something new that I'm like, okay, on the list. Because after Stranger Things, I guess that's the last season, but I want to know what's next.
But Twin Peaks is drawn out, and some of it's boring, but towards the end, it's just insane. And they refreshed it not too long ago, a couple years back, and you got to watch that maybe first, because that was just amazing. And it just gets into the whole multiple dimension. It's just crazy. This guy that says he's a reincarnation of Bashar, I forget his name, but he's interesting, and he talks about some of this stuff. What was I talking about? Reincarnation?
About the show, this show that
Oh yeah, Twin Peaks. Yeah, it's multi-dimensional thing. Oh yeah, so anyway, right now we're on an Earth where there's like an infinite copies of this Earth where we are also there, but we're living a different life, different timeline. It's all based on your choices. Every choice you make opens up a new timeline, and then you basically transverse into a dimension, to a life, to a Earth that's, responding to the choices that you've made. So if you drastically make a choice that changes your life, let's say for the better, because it's happier, um, you will no longer be in that Earth where you were in the same pattern of miserable depression. You changed, and so you now trans-shifted into a different dimension where you're leading a different life. You'll never see those people again, but you'll see them in your new dimension. They're the version of them that is in this dimension where you made these choices.
that is true. That is true. I don't know. Many people hate conspiracy theorists, but they are actually connecting this Stranger Things with
Well, at one
the
point, the Earth being round was a conspiracy theory. Everything's a theory until
until proven,
you
of
prove it.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now they are actually mentioning the Montag Project, which is very related, they say, to the series, to the Stranger Things series, because it talks about the CIA conducting experiments at Camp Hero. They even have a location, Camp Hero, an abandoned military base in Long Island. Other people say it's down in some state in the South, probably around Virginia, something like that. Or others are claiming other states, but also including LSDs and putting experiments,
Yeah,
testing on
CIA
people.
definitely has experimented with that. Then the military has given soldiers drugs, marijuana, the uppers, speed, LSD. I mean, the U.S. government has done some crazy stuff. I mean, the German government famously has done some of the worst stuff, probably. In recent history, the last couple hundred years. But humans, we just do crazy stuff. We intertwine people's intestines through barbed wire if they speak up against our church. I mean, check out Braveheart. So, we're just capable of so much. I like to think that we're capable of that much good. Just as intense as barbed wiring somebody's large intestine.
Listen, we also have the topic of zombies. I will tell you from my point here, I know that in the United States, it is very any type of program that comes with zombies, it becomes very trendy and popular.
America
It's
loves its
I
zombies.
know,
I don't know
yeah,
why.
yeah, and I would like to dig into more as to why, because not in Latin America. In Latin America, we don't have such thing as zombies.
Lo
We
muerto.
have some, yeah, we have just yeah, we do have like La Llorona. It's just about ghosts and spirits
So just for
and
the people out there, La Llorona there's a river. My Colombian friends told me this, so I guess it's from Colombia, where you can hear a lady crying. It's like her kid died there or something, and you hear her. You're walking by the river and you hear "Ah," or something. It's the lady crying.
yeah, because apparently she also like committed suicide after her son died. So then she is not resting in peace, and she is like wandering around crying for her
That's
boy.
terrible.
Yeah, but that's very interesting to know the different folklore and the countries and areas inside each community and state or county that right each pueblo or town has. It's very interesting. It varies a lot. And yeah, in Latin America, as far as I remember, we don't have stories of zombies. Anything that you've heard of from your time, psycholore of zombies from your friends?
No, no. Just I was introduced to zombies with Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, it became very, yeah, yeah.
Brains. For some reason, they want to eat brain. They want to eat your brain.
A lot of different movies became popular, huh? Even with the other chick. I remember there was this other girl that did many different from the same movie, a lot of continuations. I forgot her name, but she was also like a zombie, was she? Or she was being injected with super powerful medicine, and
Well,
she
I don't
was
know.
like,
There's a bunch of Night of the Living Deads, and they have to eat brain. But eventually, in some of them, like some of them started getting smart or something, and trying to be good, and they discovered that if they give themselves pain, it takes away their hunger to eat people. So the good zombies started walking around like with weird self-torture things going on. Like there was one that did a sexy necklace where her neck was like the belt things around your pants, around your waist, and she like slid, instead not a belt but like a chain through there, and she was always feeling pain, but it felt good because it took her hunger away. It's just twisted, sick stuff.
yeah, Resident Evil.
Great
Resident
VHS.
Evil. Remember Resident Evil?
I did
So
the game, yeah, a little bit.
yeah, no, well, that's that has like three parts, three part. Maybe I'm lost, or I just saw three, but that was very popular back then. Also, 28. Is it 28 days and 28 days and
28 days later, I think.
28 days later is another one. But there are several that became very popular and
The Will Smith
ongoing.
joint.
Ongoing. And it's very interesting because when you're not born here, I wasn't born in the US, so we tend to learn all of this. And I guess it's because we are connecting it, I'm connecting it with the Stranger Things, about the fact that this country, in the United States, there's a lot of, research and scientific things going on. There is a possibility that there is why they are saying zombies or a zombie attack could be possible, a zombie apocalypse, because of all those stuff going on and practices and medicine and all of that laboratory secrecy that they have. And they always
Well,
claim that they don't have anything. The government is not
the
having
government can
anything
do a lot
behind.
more than we know. They never released
They
technology on
never
time. The
release
internet
anything.
was a leak. Like there, yeah, for sure they study how to hypnotize people and
So
all that.
I could definitely understand why the zombie apocalypse and fear comes always there, right? But we don't have that. We don't
No, but
have
there's
that.
bath salt zombies. Like there are
No,
zombies.
that is
Like
true. Remember, like back in the early 2000s, there was a
yeah,
lot of cases of people just,
getting high on bath salts, running around. They
yeah,
gotta
running
eat people. They have
around.
to get naked and they have to chew people
And
alive.
they
Like
had to
that's what
choose
bath salts do.
literally because one of them was literally destroying a homeless man outside in Florida. Famous case in the newspaper. He ate his whole face. The whole face was eaten by this guy.
Horrible. He should be punished to the full extent of the law, as justice requires.
Tell me, what is your experience on any spiritual anomaly that you've had?
Okay, just throw it out there. Well, I'll bring up. I don't think I'll get in trouble for this, right, God? But I think So I saw a vision once of San Martin de Porras, which is a saint, patron saint of Dominican Republic. Saint Martin of Porras, perhaps. I saw his image. I was laying in bed. It was the size of a statue that my family had had for a long time. So, at the end of the day, you could basically, most people will tell you that I was a self-given image and it's thoughts in my head and memories and images seared into my brain coming up, synapses, nerves firing off. And you can explain it away that way, or you can wonder why I saw that saint. Why is my brain showing me that? Why is God showing me that? Why did that happen? I mean, when you visually see something in front of your face, it's not like you're asleep and you're dreaming. You're awake and you're seeing it. So, but sometimes our mind, I guess, can play tricks on us. And when you're half awake, and whenever I tell the story, it's like, oh, maybe you were waking up and you were half awake. Okay, well, if that makes you feel better about your reality, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. So, and that's not the only thing that I've gone through with that. I just bring it up. I mean, it is a podcast for the people here. So one time, no, not one time. Okay, so often I had a St. Lazarus statue above my closet and it would change positions. And I know nobody was coming in my room. My mom didn't do it. That St. Lazarus statue would not be in the same position in the morning from when I went to sleep. And I was never able to answer it. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, those are things that we don't have words to it. There's no explanation, and sometimes we just tend to leave it there, right there behind, because it's just so strange. Other people have other more vivid experiences, but it doesn't mean that yours is not an experience. It's quite an experience, and I'm pretty sure if you had your own room in the dark, it's very frightening, I would say.
I did have my own room in the dark as a kid. You know, I thought the statues were like, disapproving of what I was seeing at night on television, maybe, but and it just spooked me. And along with the fact that I was raised Catholic, and you basically get scared to death every day, that was bugged out. Part of me just kind of stuffed it in the back of my head so I wouldn't be petrified and I'd be able to wake up, go to school, and just forget about it. But I was never able to explain that. St. Lazarus statue moving by itself, St. Martin statue appearing before me. So, what do you make of that? Do you have anything similar?
Yeah, no, I mean, I do have a lot of those stories that we could be here the whole night, but definitely I do want to say that I am not those that, how other people have or talk about, oh, I've seen someone, I've seen this in here in front of me. I have never seen anyone or anybody. If the most, my things go through dreams. I have a lot of nightmares and things and messages that come through as in dreams, but I've never seen such thing as, oh, so I saw a dead person walking toward me. I've never seen anything like it, nor a white blanket like trying to chase me. Like, I haven't seen that yet, but there are actually interesting things, that sometimes it's a little bit spooky, like going into a room and I don't know where I am in that room, and things start falling off, like frames or like something that was hanging in the wall as soon as I stepped in. Why it couldn't, and I start asking why it couldn't be dropped before. Why this couldn't happen a few seconds before? Why it had to be like 10 seconds before, as soon as I step into that room. So there are a few things there that are like, okay, what's going on? So other people claim difference in room temperature also.
Yeah, that it gets colder. That's like I See Dead People, that movie. And there's people that say that there's dead relatives, they talk to them all the time and they literally see them. So
I don't know what to tell you, because, and it's not to be putting no one out there or no religious or no religion or religious people there. I respect each and every one of them, but there is some aspect and angle to those that say or claim that they speak in languages or in other tongues or in other, you know how it goes, right? Certain religions say we speak in tongues the same way that we speak to dead relatives, many of us might do or not. I would say, are we really speaking to our dead relatives? Are we really speaking in tongues and claiming the Holy Spirit, or what is it? Because now we are seeing that there is a lot of things that could be looking very interesting and appealing and nice, and I'm gonna help you, and yeah, I'm seeking this light, but it's not really the light.
it could
So
be a demon and you have to be worried because Lucifer is the light bringer. And even if like people that see the light when they have near death experiences, if you walk to the light, it's like the devil tricking you so you can go die or something. I don't know.
definitely, no, it could be. I mean, why not?
Well,
Like,
I don't know. I think some of this is really us. What if it's us communicating with each other, dead or alive, or alive to alive? Like, what if it's all of our collective consciousness throwing messages at each other?
that is another thing, because I know we always bring this up when we are doing this type of topics, you and I, because I've mentioned to you before. It is interesting that you see it this way, due to the fact that we are constantly having those. Oh, this is the. I just had this in my dream. I was just dreaming about this. So that's part or fragments of maybe us, right? Going into another version of us or us. traveling in our dream state of mind, traveling to other parts of us in the near future, into our nearest 30 or 50 years or back, and just coming up and talking to us, sending that message. So we are mixing it with other things. Maybe there's nothing out there. Maybe it's just us again, you know?
Or maybe it's just us again doing the same thing we did before, and we'll do it again. And the cycle will continue until we grow enough to jump into the next cipher, the next circle, the next spiral, the next Ceremonia.
This is Luna777, and I am disconnecting from this world.
Psycho Lord bids you adieu. Until the next